All right, what's up, Algebra 1? Today we are doing multi-step inequalities. So far we've only done one-step inequalities. We might have done a couple of two steps, but I'm pretty sure we've only seen the one steps. All right, so today we're going to solve for inequalities with multiple steps. All right, so we'll just go ahead and jump straight into problem 1. We are given 9 plus 4t is greater than 21. Okay, and to solve this, you would just solve it the exact same way that you would solve, let's go with green today. You'd solve it the same way that you would solve just a two-step equation. All right, so your first step, I'm going to go ahead and do minus 9 from both sides. That will cancel there. We're left with 4t is greater than 12. All right, and then divide both sides by 4, and we're left with t is greater than 3. And that is it. For that one, again, you could check just like they do here. And it's the exact same way that you would for an equation, or if you want to check and make sure that a number is a solution. So if you want to check if you're in your graph, you're pointing it the right way, your arrow the right way, you could plug in something. So like for this one, I would plug in maybe, they do it here where they plug in 4, or something else that's greater than 3. It doesn't really matter what. All right, so that would be how you would check that. But that's really it for that first example. All right, just as a practice, go ahead and try out problems A and B. Okay, and then so go ahead and pause the video, and then we'll move on from there. All right, so the next problem is a word problem, and so it's really just the same thing. So it says, in a community garden, you want to fence in a vegetable garden that is adjacent to your friend's garden. All right, you have at most 42 feet of fence. What are the possible lengths of your garden? Okay, so the first thing that I notice is that right here, your friend's garden is at 12 feet, what do they say, wide. All right, so we have that the width is 12. And then since we know it is a rectangle from the drawing, we're going to use this for our area. Or sorry, not for our area, for our perimeter. All right, that's 2 length plus 2 width. All right, and then for W, because we already know the width is 12, we can go ahead and plug in 12 right there. All right, so just to write this, we have the perimeter, which is going to be equal to the most fence that we can use, right? So 42, okay, is going to be greater than or equal to 2L plus 2 times 12. All right, and just as a reminder, you want to be careful with which direction that inequality is facing, right? Because at most makes it sound like it needs to be greater than 42, when in reality it needs to be less than or equal to 42. All right, so just be careful with that. But yeah, this formula that we have set up on the right side is exactly what we're looking for. All right, and now we can just go ahead and solve. All right, so we are looking to find the possible lengths that we can have. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to simplify. All right, so I'm going to do 2 times 12, which is 24. All right, and then next I'm going to just solve it like normal. So I'll subtract 24 from both sides in order to get all of the constant terms on one side with the variable terms on the other. We're going to be left with 18 is greater than or equal to 2L. All right, and then I'm going to isolate the L by dividing both sides by 2. And we'll be left with 9 is greater than or equal to L. All right, you can also write that, if it helps you, as L is greater than or equal to, L is less than or equal to 9. All right, So that's what we're looking for. Our length is going to be 9 feet or less. All right, so if you want to rewrite that in terms of the word problem, that is a great idea. Okay, so that's what I came up with. Length must be 9 feet or less. All right, and again, you could check that the same way that we checked number 1 up here, where we plugged in and everything. All right. So that is it for problem number 2. Go ahead and try out the got it problem number 2 as well. It's really similar to the problem we just did, but I want you to go ahead and give it a try. Okay, so the next problem that they have for us is a distributive property problem. They give us a multiple choice, but the good thing is we also can just solve this without the multiple choice, right? Because the multiple choice kind of just gives you answers. I don't like doing that for notes, so we're just going to ignore the multiple choice. So we're going to have 3 times the quantity t plus 1 minus 4t is greater than or equal to -5. All right. So from here, we'll just start out with the distributive property. Remember, you need to do that before you combine the like terms of t and -4t. The reason for that is order of operations. All right. So we'll go ahead and do the distributive property first. So we have 3 times t is 3t. 3 times 1 is 3. And then we'll rewrite the rest of the inequality. So now we're left with 3t minus 4t. If we combine those two, we're going to have -t plus 3, or 3 minus t, depending on how you want to write that. Okay, and then we have on the other side -5. All right, again, I'm just going to solve like normal. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. So I'm left with -t is greater than or equal to -8. All right, and finally, I need to divide both sides by -1 in order to isolate the t. Don't forget, when you do that, you're dividing by -1, so you have to flip that sign. All right, because we're dividing by a negative here. All right, and then -8 divided by -1 is going to give you 8. All right, so we should end up with t is less than or equal to +8. That's what they got over here. So we must have done all right. Okay, and I want you guys, again, to go ahead and do got it problem number 3. All right, the next one we have is problem 4, solving an inequality with variables on both sides. So we're kind of, if you can tell, just going through a lot of the same stuff that we saw with equations. Now we're just working through them with inequalities. All right, so this one's pretty simple. We can start by subtracting 3 in from both sides so that we can get the variable terms all on one side. All right, and then I'm going to add 1 so we can get all the constant terms on the other side. And then we're left with 3 in is greater than 9. Divide both sides by 3 to isolate the variable, and we're left with n is greater than 3. So that one's really quick, pretty simple. I don't think we need to try it. If you want to try one, A would be your go-to, but you are not required to try that one. All right, so next we will move on to problem 5, which is inequalities with special solutions. This is the last bit, so this is where it's kind of similar to what we had again with equality or equations. So we have this problem over to the right side. 10 minus 8a is greater than or equal to 2 times the quantity of 5 minus 4a. All right, so once again, like we did earlier, we'll go ahead and do the distributive property. I'm going to go ahead and just write down this first half, so the left side. All right, and we have 2 times 5 is 10, and then 2 times -4a is -8a. All right, at this point, you probably notice that these are the same thing. But if not, we'll go ahead and say we're adding 8a so we can cancel out that side, but then we have to do the same thing over here. And we're left with 10 is greater than or equal to 10. There's no variables left. All right. And then right here, I think this is a really good way of saying it. So since the inequality 10 is greater than or equal to 10 is always true, the solutions of 10 minus 8a is greater than or equal to 2 times the quantity 5 minus 4a are all real numbers. Okay, so in this situation, all real numbers is what you're looking for. Okay, you could also call that an identity. All right. Actually, you know, I'm not sure if you can call it an identity. For now, don't call it an identity, just because I'm not sure if it's technically called an identity when it's an inequality. I'll have to check on that for you guys. All right. There's also problems like the one we have below, where we have 6m minus 7 is greater than 7m plus 7 minus m. If we were to go ahead and simplify that, so we have 7m minus m is 6m plus 7. Here I just combined like terms. And then we are left with, if we subtract 6m from both sides, it's going to end up canceling from both sides. So now we have negative 5 is greater than 7. All right, this is never true. So for this one, we would have no solution, right? Because there is no number m where we can make negative 5 greater than 7. All right. So go ahead and try out 5a on your own. And then after you do that, we will be all done with this lesson. You can come back into class and I will see you guys there.